Hello, everybody. Blind Metal Gamer here with you once again, and it is time for another live discussion. There is a new Darksiders coming out, Darksiders 4, and I would like to take this time to discuss how the game can be made fully accessible for gamers without sight. So, I like taking this opportunity to hopefully reach game devs, game developers, and hopefully this will reach the developers of Darksiders 4, whoever are making the game. Again, this is just my live discussion on how this can be made accessible for the blind and low vision gaming community because as of this live streaming, there are no games in the Dark Side series that are blind accessible, without sighted assistance. So I wanted to do this. I wanted to take this opportunity to discuss as an accessibility advocate how this could be done. Now, what do we know of the game so far? We know it's called Darksiders 4 and we know it's coming. Now, we know it's going to be on the modern consoles, PS5, Xbox Series X, and S. So, with that being said, I would like to start off the conversation by saying the first thing I feel this game needs is going to be screen reader support at the system level. Now, what can this do? Okay, let's look at a game like Assassin's Creed Shadows as a recent example. With native screen reader support at the system level for Assassin's Creed Shadows, that thing reads everything. I'm talking what to push, when to push it, the menus. It will read how far your objective is when you get it centered on with your compass. It'll say objective, however many meters away. So you know how far or close you are to your objective. Now, if Darksiders 4 has a similar system to Darksiders 3, where you have the compass system, they could incorporate a similar feature where you have your compass centered and you can know how far or close you are to your objective. Or another thing they could do, if you want navigation assist similar to The Last of Us Part 1 or Part 2, or Marvel Spider-Man 2, incorporate a system where you have a thing where to point your camera in the direction of your objective, and then have a point of interest or POI, a ping. It'll make a noise that'll increase in frequency and pitch when you get closer to your objective. That right there would help with navigational assist, those two things. Now, the reason why I'm suggesting that first one is because that way you'll have the choice of either not using the POI ping if they were to do something like that, and you could just find it on your own, or you could use the POI ping and the camera thing to find it that way. Hey viewers, so alright, so we have hey John Doe, what's up? Hey Baboon, welcome to the stream, guys. So okay, back to the discussion. Alright, so full screen reader support at the system level, a form of navigational assist, actually two. And then the next thing I'm thinking of is going to be for cutscenes, descriptive audio. Now, again, Ubisoft has this with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Insomniac has this with Marvel Spider-Man 2. Um, so that's something that they could do to increase the accessibility to let blind players know what's going on in cutscenes. Now, hey Baboon, I'm glad you like it. Today we're talking about how Darksiders 4 can be made accessible for players without sight. That's today's topic. Hey, John Doe, thanks, man. Thanks, man. Hey, Baboon. So, okay. So, we've covered screen reader support at the system level. We've covered a navigational assist point, actually two, because the screen reader would tell you how far or close you are to your objective. Now, the reason why I suggested the POI, the point of interest ping, and the camera thing was because with the whole thing with telling you how far or close you are to your objective, that is going to require you to babysit the right stick, and you have to move it, and you have to center your compass. If you were to turn on navigational assistance, that would not be needed. You would just click the right stick, and you would get where you need to go and know where you need to go. Now, next I want to talk about traversal. So for things such as climbing and things like that, have an auto climb and have a ledge guard to prevent falling. And that those things should definitely be considered. As far as controls, another thing that needs to be considered as far as controls is, um, and I know this is going to really piss a lot of you off that are watching, and if any game devs are watching this, excuse what I just said, but this is really going to kind of push a lot of people the wrong way. But another thing that they need to do for controls is skippable puzzles and auto QTEs. Now you're probably thinking, Blind Metal Gamer, why these two things? Here's my way of thought for the puzzles. Not every puzzle is going to be accessible to a blind player. So, for example, if you have to roll a big ball in a certain place, oh, just doing this discussion. Uh, uh, so why skippable puzzles? Not every puzzle is going to be accessible for a blind player. So, for example, I was saying, let's say you have to roll this big ball into a specific place, or let's say you have to use a Fury's whip and whip X amount of things as they fall. Well, if you can't see where they're going to be going, how are you going to be able to do that? I think the option to skip puzzles is a must-have to help blind players progress through the game story. Now, the other thing about auto QuickTime events is, again, just like with the puzzles, if you can't see the buttons to push, or if the screen reader will not tell you what buttons to push, having those auto QTE events is going to be a godsend because it'll be one less thing the player has to worry about. And again, these are all options to be considered. Now, these accessibility options should not, and I repeat, should not affect in any way the player's ability to get trophies or achievements for the game. Now, I want to talk combat. Now, again, we don't know what the combat's going to be like in the game. From what I read on the PlayStation Store, it said choose your horseman, so I'm pretty sure you're going to get to pick War, Death, Strife, and Fury, and have their own combat styles. So what I'm hoping is, all right, hold on, guys. We got to do something real quick. Yep, we got to do some. All right, so okay, now for combat. I think that the ability to set the combat difficulty specific is key. That's going to help as far as um, you know, again reducing the stress and the pressure on the player. So for things such as say parrying or blocking or dodging, that is something that will definitely be key. So being able to set that combat difficulty to very light without penalizing the player is going to be key. Now another thing I'm going to talk about is audio cues for things such as finding your objective, interactables, execution moves, combat cues. So for example, let's say you're in the world and you find a chest. An audio cue should play to allow the player to know when they're near the chest and when they can open it. An example of this would be The Last of Us Part 2 or God of War Ragnarok. You come up to a thing you can interact with, you hear a cue, you hit the circle button, the interact button, and you're able to interact with that object. The same thing should be applied here. Now, another thing would be audio cues for combat cues such as executions. Again, let's say you stun an enemy, and let's say you're able to execute the enemy. Then, again, maybe a beep or a ding should play to let players know to push the execution button. They push it, the execution goes off, and they're good to go. And then let's see. Another thing that audio cues could be used for would be not only for interactables or executions in combat, but for when you targeted an enemy and when you defeated an enemy. Now, those are other ways to use audio cues. And then, let's see, I'm going to talk about aim assist since Strife, I do believe, uses a gun. And this is, since I do believe Strife is a gun wielder, the ability to target specific body parts for aiming would be needed. So for that, they could use audio cues by having a sound play for the head, a sound play for the body, and a sound play for the legs. The head would be a high pitch frequency, the body would be a mid pitch frequency, and the legs would be a low pitch frequency. And again, having aim assist would snap the game to the nearest target. Then the player could use the right stick to aim up or down, left or right for the head, body, arms, or legs of the target. Now, hey, Carter, the One Piece fan. And then let's see, we've discussed audio cues, descriptive audio, combat, combat difficulty, screen reader support, navigational assist. The next thing I want to talk about is game speed, and this is going to help not only blind and low vision players, but it'll help motor players as well because by having that game speed slowed, the player could focus on the audio that's coming in and learn how to time their parry attacks, time their blocks, time their dodges, and whatnot to get things the way they need to be in order to learn the combat. Um, let's see, another thing they should incorporate is, and I'm not talking like screen reader support at the system level to do basic screen reader support. I'm talking full advanced screen reader support, similar to The Last of Us Part 1 and 2 and Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And they say that Assassin's Creed Shadows has basic screen reader support. Excuse me. I think that should be, they should use the system screen reader to read everything that is in that menu, in that text. I'm talking menus, gameplay, HUD elements, everything to help the blind player play the game. Hey, Carter, the One Piece fan. So, with that all being said, since I really don't know and haven't really gotten to check out the gameplay as far as hearing it, I wouldn't really know what else they could do. I'm just covering your basics right now. So, I'm hoping that, oh yes, another thing they could do for controls is fully remappable controls and another thing, have an auto combo option. So let's say you push the attack button, you can do an auto combo, kind of like Assassin's Creed Shadows. Um, and then Another thing they could do for audio cues is loot. I was just thinking about that loot, because if you get plenty of loot when you defeat an enemy, there needs to be audio cues to know when to pick that up. So play a specific audio cue for when to pick up loot, and maybe for each type of loot too. So if the loot is in rare classifications, have an audio for common all the way up to the most rare loot. So so that those things right there could be done to make Darksiders 4 fully accessible. So if the devs are watching this, I hope that you all will take some of these suggestions into consideration and work to make Darksiders 4 the most accessible Darksiders experience for blind and low vision players. So with that being said, as always, let's have a conversation in the comments. And until next time, I've been Blind Metal Gamer saying so long and peace out.